So today we're going to discuss something referred to as sub drop. I prefer to call it baby blues in the BDSM community. As you know, the BDSM stands for not just bondage and submission and dominance, and the D can also they're interchangeable. Some of these terms. Like it's submissive or sadomasochist or masochism versus um, whatever. So I just feel like we really need to discuss that a little more because I run into guys who learn that I am a submissive and they're already like, oh, I'm a dom, I'm this, I'm that, I'm strong, I'm blah 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 blah, and they start coming at me with these like hella alpha male isms. And in my younger years, and unfortunately some semi recently, when I say semi recently, I guess I'm thinking of like the last 5 to 8 years or so. um I was still learning what it meant to be a sub, what it meant to be a dom, and not just for myself, but the overall terms. Like, what do they really encompass? What's really authentically these things versus someone who wants to take pieces of them that they feel describe them and then attribute them to them and claim that as their label or title or what have you. And I think that to label yourself anything without really doing any bit of research or just being really aware of the pros, the cons, the the things that you're being involved in, especially if these acts are going to involve another person, which often they do. Um, so it's really important that you know what you're getting into. So, for instance, I feel like I'm talking about baby blues specifically because when you are doing these really intense scenes, whether it's, you're being degraded physically, emotionally, mentally, whether you are being handled a bit aggressively in a physical sense, including like spanking or a number of things. I feel like I don't want to get too far, of course, on what all those things can be. I think it's just important that your Dom knows that that kind of high is with is not without a come down, and they have to be ready for that. It's something that you should have negotiated and talked about, I feel like, at length prior to you beginning any kind of play. And you really just have to know what this person expects from you. So, I mean, if they just come down out of this kind of altered state of being, which is kind of what this role play is, um, they might feel really vulnerable. It might have brought a lot of emotions to the surface. It might, um, they just need to feel supported. Sometimes they need to be supported physically with some cuddles, just to be reassured that, that those things that were said or those things that were done were not real. Like the dominance has to come from a loving space, from a tender space. And I think so many people think of it as just the aggressive part. Um, and it's just not always that. It's not that. It's so much more than that. It's not wanting to put your dominance on someone as much as it is wanting to be the kind of person who someone wants to submit to. And nobody wants to submit to someone like aggressive and demanding. Your presence alone should command that because, they feel comfortable with you. Nobody wants to submit to a situation they don't feel comfortable to. I found from personal experience, I tried to submit to a man who didn't make me feel comfortable. And I like personally in role play to be degraded lightly. Um, Maybe not so lightly according to other people's definition, but I digress. I feel like he wanted to, I wouldn't say humiliate me, but I think that he wanted to degrade me, but also use degrading me into guilting me into do things I wasn't comfortable with that he wanted me to do, and then kind of put this like, you're not really who you say you are kind of thing on it. And the thing is, like, had he been who he really said he was and capable of all those things, like, there, I would go lengths to, you know, fulfill my responsibilities as a submissive, to make sure my partner is enjoying the experience as much as I am. As a submissive, I desire that. I think that there's, I mean, it's not my driving force as a submissive, but it's up there. I mean, I'm a pleaser. I aim to please my partner. And so, you know, after I want to be able to go all the way there with you, but there's these blurred lines. I feel like I hate using cliche statements, but there are blurred lines when you do these really intense things. You experience these really intense things that are pretty far removed from the kind of engagement that you would have with this person that you love and that loves you. And so I think it's just really important to establish the boundaries so that there aren't blurred lines, so that there aren't confusions, so there's not miscommunication. I think that, you know, for a lot of the doms, they feel like it's about control. And to an extent it is, but really the sub's in control. The sub's in control without really delegating. And you can't really be in control without delegating in the moment if you haven't effectively communicated ahead of time. And that's really important. You have to state what you want, what your needs are, what your hard limits are, what you really enjoy, so that they know how to command that out of you, how they know how to push you a little bit past, you know, where you think you might be comfortable, because they know you well and they're not forcing you to out of your box, and it's not something that is a hard limit for you. They know that you're kind of ready to push further, that you're ready to do more. And that's not to say that the dominant doesn't have to have their needs met and, you know, have their boundaries talked about. That's also equally important. But I guess the reason why I'm stressing that about the submissive is not because I'm a sub, but I feel like because when you're on the receiving end of what can feel like physical or emotional abuse, I think you get the brunt of the mishap or the miscommunication if things go left. I think submissives really, you have to be strong, and dominants need to be compassionate. And I think that people often feel like those roles are reversed and that those traits belong to the other label. And I think that's not true. You have to really pay attention to your sub to know how to serve them and pull from them and have them want to serve you. You have to really pre-play as a submissive. You have to really advocate for yourself, what it is you want, how you want it. And for some people that takes some courage, some bravery. And so it's not the role that you consider yourself or the traits that you consider yourself to have, but it's absolutely necessary for both of you to have those attributes in order for, I think, it to be successful. So just both parties need to just educate themselves about the risks, about you know, each other's wants and needs, and just I feel like it's just important that you know what it is that you're signing up for and who you're signing up for it with. Some guys, I think that they feel like they want to be dominant when I say that's what I'm into. It's okay if you're not. But dominance is not one of those things I think you can really teach somebody. I don't know. I haven't really gone that route. Maybe just because the level of my personal space and my personality, I'm not necessarily very patient. especially when it comes to my sexual life. Which is why everybody kind of knows that I'm just like, forget the oral, because y'all don't know what you're doing. A lot of y'all think you know what you're doing, and you don't know what you're doing. A lot of women in your past have really stroked your ego instead of really letting you know the real. And then you run into a chick like me, and then you're like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" And I'm like, nothing's wrong with me. Everybody before me didn't have the balls to tell you that you suck, and now I'm here trying to have to tell you that you suck. And I'm not a coach. Like, I'm trying to get off. Like, we can skip all this and go to the stuff that I know that I can do. We can do this. Uh, so I'm not really into coaching someone like that. And really, I'm 36. Like, if I was dating somebody like 24, I would be like, all right, I kind of have to, because I chose to date somebody 24. But if I'm 36 and you're 36, or you're 38, or you're 40, and you don't know what you're doing at this point, or you haven't decided to be a dom, it's okay. Like, but I really want a dom who is dominant at their very core. So, because I feel like if I'm teaching you, then you're just kind of going by a playbook. And why I appreciate someone going outside of maybe their comfort zone to accommodate me, because sometimes you have to do that a bit, not like pressuring them to be someone they're not. But if it's something that has piqued their interest and they're interested, you're only going to do what I tell you to do. You're not going to like take it that step further. And I like spontaneity is like the main ingredient in my sex life, or chemistry, I guess. And so I want to kind of bring us to this point, and then you take it to the next level. But you know me well enough, and you understand the role. You might be too afraid to do that if it doesn't come natural to you. And I could be wrong. I might be shortchanging some gentlemen who really would take the guidelines and take it a step further. It's just that I don't have a lot of faith in that situation. So, yeah, that's not really what I'm thinking is going to happen. And I haven't really traveled that. So I'm not saying that to deter other people or to tell people who are interested that they're not teachable. I'm just saying, from my personal preference, I'd like a man who is dominant, who has been dominant, who knows what it means to be dominant, who understands what it means to have a submissive, to take care of submissive, to know that submissives can say no at any time, and there's nothing wrong with that. They can, something that was great for them one day, it can be too emotionally taxing another day. You have to be willing to offer cuddles when what you want to do is like choke, slam, stroke her. And that's got to be okay with you, because it's being a caretaker, with a strong hand, guided by that person. And so you kind of have to be a giver. You have to be willing to cater to this person's needs. And I feel like that's the best way that I can describe what it really means to be a dominant and how to be a submissive. I don't really feel like I covered how to be a submissive. But, maybe I should. I don't know. I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand, like with what I'm saying. But if you feel like I'm lacking that, by all means, ask me some questions, and I'll come back, do another video. We will discuss how to be a good sub, and I will fill in whatever blanks you have. And I look forward to, I guess, that sort of engagement. And that's all for now. Thank you, you bras. You support me. Other people can have bros. I'd rather have my bras. You guys are the dopest. And I'm out. Smooches.